Meeting to order.
And you're on.
Need approval of the minutes from June 14th. Anybody have any questions with them?
I do. On page one.
Well, that's not the minutes though.
Yeah, this is at the beginning. Here it is. Oh, that's what you forwarded on the page. Okay. At the last meeting, we had a discussion and we briefly touched on bringing code enforcement back in-house. There was a little bit of explanation about it, but I was not aware that the committee concurred totally. I realized there was no formal vote taken, but I wanted to make sure that more discussion was planned and that this statement was not that every committee member agreed to that it was a good thing to bring code enforcement back in-house. So I'd like, it's a little misleading because it says the committee concurred.
I'm trying to think of the right committee was supportive of further discussion. No,
That would be anything other than we all concurred. Because if we all concurred, there'd be no need for further discussion until we get to the how do we do it. And that was my only comment about the minutes. All looked good other than that. I'm not going to table anything, I promise.
If I remember rightly, I think the rationale for bringing it back in-house was to save money.
Yeah.
And listening to council discuss this issue either in work sessions or at the regular council meetings, they wanted to keep going with having Danny do it for the simple fact that he was an extra deputy, an extra set of eyes, and some examples were given where he did, when he see something or had to do something in relation to law enforcement, he stopped the clock on code enforcement and then resumed it once he completed the law enforcement.
well,
So
good news is that's all.
it's all
behind us.
It's behind us
So
now. Yeah.
I guess does Patty then need to retype the notes, or I wrote it in?
She'll write it in and she'll fix it. She can go ahead and sign it.
Sign it? Okay.
Yeah.
So what do you mean it's all behind us? Something happened.
So in the final budget process, they approved to keep Deputy Doherty in place.
Okay,
So
that means it's behind us. Good. Yeah, because I had some examples of that, a personal experience with Deputy Doherty, and it was really a good experience.
Yep. I've heard nothing but good things, and last week I was rather surprised. I see this SUV stop across the street from me, and I'm thinking, what did I do wrong now? And it was Danny delivering the packet, and we talked for a little bit. So that was the first time I'd actually, engaged with
Yeah, I
him.
didn't, I found the packet, but I didn't see who delivered it.
Is he a sheriff's employee?
Yeah, he's a retiree and they're called reserves. And they bring him back on part-time.
They pay him though, and it's in what
They
we
bill
pay.
us.
That
They bill us.
They built it.
specifically for him.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
It is hourly, right? We dedicated a certain number of
Well, but we
hours.
bumped his hours, and
It's $50 an hour.
What isn't? What isn't?
Well,
that's not what he's getting, but it's got
Yeah, right.
the sheriff overhead on it.
The
So.
overhead.
All right, so do we want to move on to Lynn, talking about the undergrounding?
Do we want to? I got this crib sheet here to do minutes, and Patty's got this approval of the agenda, so,
So we need to back up and approve the agenda and approve the minutes as
a
amended.
motion for,
Yeah.
Okay, I move to approve the minutes of June 14th meeting as amended.
I'll second it.
all right, that's Mark.
No, he's talking down here on the minutes. We'll back up. We need an approval of the agenda.
Yeah, that's the
Right.
first item.
No,
approval of the
yeah,
agenda.
approval of the agenda.
Who are you pointing at?
Do you want to?
I thought, what was
No,
Mark
Mark
doing?
approved the minutes.
Oh,
Mark.
I'll motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, John, thanks.
And I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Same with the minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Did we get the roll call done before I got here?
Oh,
I just checked people off as they arrived, and I
Perfect.
wrote down excuse for Bob Reisenberg, he's with work. All right, for the minutes,
That was
Mark.
sure.
Motion passed. We're missing 2 right now, so it's
So
actually
it's 4-0.
4-0.
That's right, I'm missing
And Jody's.
I'm gonna put a question mark here at them for Jody right now, and if she shows up, I'll make a check mark.
There wasn't there a council member that was on?
That was only for the audit
That was
committee.
the audit.
Or just the.
Leslie was,
Okay, just
it
the-
required a council member to be
Ah,
on audit
okay,
committee.
gotcha.
And because of the council last night, these extra papers, wasn't in our packet that we got, but they put a project on us to turn pretty quickly. So we'll go down, so there's an amendment to the, I guess there is an amendment to the
We can
agenda.
put it under the other business.
Okay.
So we don't have to amend
Okay.
it. General business.
General business.
All right, so then, Lynn, you want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to get, kind of bring you up to speed on the funding and the costs that I've obtained for the Gulf Boulevard undergrounding project.
Yeah, Lynn, excuse me, are you gonna take us back to the beginning, or am I the only one that would love to hear
Well,
what's been accomplished
Okay.
and who paid for stuff?
Okay, Pinellas County's, it's called Penny for Pinellas, and there was a Penny 3, which was the previous penny, and it had money for Gulf Boulevard beautification. It paid for the bicycle racks on Gulf Boulevard, the beautification in the marina, the landscaping and what have you. And it paid for portions of it paid for all the west side of Gulf Boulevard undergrounding project, along with a portion of 1st through 12th for Spectrum to take their wires down. And unfortunately, they're still working on that, but they've been paid for it, so they'll get it done sooner than later, I hope. Because with the Penny 3 money, that money was mainly used to try to get rid of all the cross wires going across Gulf Boulevard. And then we had enough to fund the west side. So we undergrounded all the electric. We've got a couple pockets of Spectrum still on the west side that is paid for. They still have to underground that. Duke has completed their project on the west side. So the beach mayors went back to the Big C, is who did it, went back to Pinellas County a couple years ago when they were trying to promote the Penny 4, which the voters voted on and approved, okay? With the caveat that they would give the beach $35 million. and it's broke up depending on the linear footage of each community. So that's where we're at right now today.
So this is the penny for money?
Penny for money. And we got about 400,000 last year. We rolled it over because we're getting $990,000 a year from Pinellas County. And part of that money is Bel Air Shores money. They've given it to us, as they did in the last project. The share was, last time it was about 3.6 million. This time it's right at 4 total. Well, it's $4,051,000. I did go to Bel Air Shore to talk with them about doing the same thing this time. They didn't have any problem.
So they're fine using their money for the east side?
Yeah, because I used part of our money and their money for the west side.
Yeah.
All right, so the penny for money is a total of how much?
$4,051,857.
4 million.
Yeah, it's in your package.
Okay.
Physically, does that money exist in a bank account, or it's coming,
Okay.
or?
No, what happens is the city has to pay the money. As an example, if let's say Duke sent me an invoice for $1,055,000, the city would have to pay that invoice, and then we would submit that paid invoice with a copy of the check to Pinellas County, and they would reimburse us. The reimbursement's usually within 30 to 45 days, so it's pretty fast. So we aren't out the money for any length of time. So we asked them to roll the roughly $400,000 that came in last fiscal year over, and that's what we did with the last project. We rolled it over until we had enough money to do something. So right now, with this year, we'll end up with somewhere around 1.3 million, which is not enough to do any project other than maybe pay for Spectrum to finish their work. You could do that. And I would think we would roll it over one more year, then we'd have enough to start the undergrounding project. But the bigger problem is the total project, we're short almost $1 million.
At the end of this year, we'll have 1.3?
Yeah, at the end of September next.
22.
Yeah, and then we'll have to get another 990. And really, rolling it over is simple. They don't give you any heartache about it. And you could do the projects like the little Spectrum projects, 192,000, and you get Spectrum out of the way. But the bigger issue is the shortfall. And it's two ways to look at it. You could do phase one, take phase two and ask Duke to break it up, and then you'd end up with phase three at some point in time. And there's a possibility in the next penny time they voted, they could give them more money again, but it's a 4 or 5 year project to do it. So I just wanted to get some feedback.
Is it more costly if we break it up into these phases? Because they got to keep starting and stopping it, or I'm guaranteed the
Well,
costs?
That's part of the problem. The cost will change because these are their initial costs, and they're guaranteed. But if we don't, as an example, if we don't do phase one, then sometime March or April, the costs will change, which we won't have enough money to do phase one. And I'm talking phase one of Duke and the undergrounding, because I went to the undergrounding company, utility consultants that we use for BEI, and the original cost from Duke was $5.5 million for their portion. I went back and told them, No, I don't want you to put the conduit in. I'll go out and find somebody to put the conduit in. So after that, we ended up saving about $600,000 by going to a second, an outsider to put the conduit in. And they've done a lot of projects with Duke, so it's not really a big deal. So that's where we're at with it. But I don't expect the project to, unless we just get rid of the Spectrum stuff and then start when we have some accumulated money with phase one and go north. But I don't know what your feeling is to break it up into thirds and then take phase two and split it. Kind of like what Spectrum did, because that's the only two phases they have left. Use 12th to 22nd, 22nd to Harrison. So what I gave you copies of the Duke estimate. I gave you the schedule of values from utility consultants. I gave you copies of the Spectrum invoices, which they submitted to us. And then also, we're gonna have to get some easements from some of the residents along Gulf Boulevard. This company that here, they work with Duke Energy and they've been very successful at getting the easements. And it's a minimal cost, it's less than $10,000. There's 11 easements they need along Gulf Boulevard to put, they have to put transformers and what have you.
So, brings me to one of the questions that I had after reading through this. Explain to me a little bit about the process of eliminating the pole. It's now undergrounded next to the sidewalk.
Right.
How are they going to get undergrounded to the first pole between the back doors of the houses?
They'll shoot it.
Okay, so
That's
there'll be
part
no
of this.
wires until it gets to the first pole,
Right.
above ground, to the first pole
Right.
behind the houses.
Right.
Okay.
And Mark, just,
Off of Gulf Boulevard.
yeah, I'm not terribly knowledgeable in all this, but I can tell you, I'm in a condo, 3210 up there, and when they took the pole down in front of us, they had to get those wires buried that had gone in the air to the building
Right.
underground, and they shot it, if that's the word, Lynn.
Right.
They shot it under our whole parking lot, all the way from Gulf Boulevard to our building, underground to our big transformer box or whatever it's called. It was an amazing thing, but they did it.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to be stuck with some stub pole that's feeding the
Well,
next major pole.
you're gonna still have streetlight poles.
Yeah.
That's gonna still be there. Because I looked into the solar lighting and it cost another $500,000
For that size
for that span.
yeah.
But
They're just
what,
get powered.
what powers those lights?
It'll come, the power will come into the
Yeah.
pole underground.
From underground?
Yes.
Okay. So there are wires going across Gulf Boulevard. There's a few still left. What are those?
Those are cable wires.
Cable.
Meaning
Oh,
Spectrum?
Yeah, Spectrum. Spectrum's,
Are they the bane of your existence for this? I could tell that right away.
Worse.
Everyone's upset with Spectrum.
yeah, they're the worst. They had a gentleman, and I don't know what happened, but he kind of like disappeared from the world. And they brought in these other guys, and they've gotten a little faster, but they're still, not efficient. At least with Duke, you have to keep pushing them. It's kind of like the underground project that we did in BDI. You had to keep pushing them, but they got it done.
Yeah.
But Spectrum is the worst. Frontiering much better. Because, as an example, if any house that's got poles behind it, going down like 1st through 25th Street, there are old Verizon lines that Frontier now owns on there that connect to nothing. And to get them down, you gotta pay them. They won't take them down.
Pay them?
Pay
Who's-
Frontier.
Okay.
They won't touch them. We, actually, in the undergrounding, we had to pay Frontier, I wanna say it was 14,000 for BEI. To take a few.
Miscellaneous that hadn't been used in years.
Yeah.
So when they undergrounded it, and turned it FiOS, they just left them there.
Hmm.
I still have mine.
Huh?
I still have my box. I never took it out. The old phone connector box.
Yeah, they won't. They won't come and take anything. That's just the problem, And I've talked to them. I've got them to take out a couple places, but I had to tell them that they were causing damage to this or that. And I got them to do that for nothing, but for the most part, it's
We can take it out. That's not-
Yeah. I was,
So what is the difference between Duke's work and utility consultants' work?
Duke puts the actual wire in the ground and does all the connections. Utility Consultants does the conduit. They shoot that underground. And
and then Duke comes up with the wire through the conduit.
yeah,
All right, so Duke's, these figures here for Duke Energy, that's their cost to actually run the wire in the conduit
And connected.
and connect
and
it,
connect it?
bring in the connections to the transformers,
Energize all the homes.
energize,
Okay,
all that.
those numbers,
Now,
those
any
numbers.
home that has, on Gulf Boulevard, and I don't think there's very many of them, that has a wire from the street to their house, that's on them.
Who's them?
The
The
homeowner.
homeowner.
So our condo, which does have a wire from a pole, you don't think that's Spectrum? Who would that be?
That's-
Verizon?
That's probably Spectrum.
Yeah.
But,
So I'd have to go negotiate with them?
to get it put down, yeah,
City's not gonna write a check for me.
no.
So, and I'm sorry I was late, but what is your question for us?
Well,
You're
I
asking for
wanted-
advice because we have $1 million shortfall, is that what
Yeah,
you're?
yeah, and the other option is to go back to Duke and say, hey, I want you to break this up in thirds or fourths, and so we
Well, I mean,
can
it
do
seems
pieces of
pretty,
it.
it seems logical to me, you're gonna wanna spend the lion's share, right? In other words, well, you have that price locked in from Duke, you wanna do the bigger portion of the project.
Well, but we don't have that money available to us yet.
So is this money, this, $4,051,000, that's what we're gonna get over the life of the penny for?
Yes,
Okay, but so today we only have $1,000,003,
yes.
and then, was it 10 years?
No, you'll have 3 more years of roughly 900, is it 900?
So it was a 5-year deal, and we
Yeah.
had 3 years.
Yeah, the first year we got like 340,000, something like that. And then we're getting 930, 930, 930, 930.
That's what that bottom line says.
Even with my TV, I can't see it.
Can't see it.
I have to get you a magnifying glass.
I need better light or something.
So, really what I'm kind of trying to find out, is it better to ask Duke to split it up into smaller chunks and go as far as we can, as soon as we can? Or is it, or go to the city and say, do you want to spend $1 million? Or do you want to just use what you have and
Well, if you went to schedule this today, when would it be done? Are you scheduling it now for 3 years from now?
I'm getting I got the preliminary prices from
Right.
them. So if, as an example, if we went to them and said, we want you to start phase 1, that's 1.8 million. We'd still have about a $500,000 shortfall. But if we could get them to start on it, then we could probably make that shortfall up 1st of October next year.
They wouldn't be finished by next.
No, and they wouldn't be finished, because there's lots of design work and other things they have to do. So
Okay.
the city would have to front that money, but they'd get it back next October. So then you'd have about $400,000 left and 2 years to go, so you'd have about 2.4 million left, or 2.3, to finish whatever project you wanted. Well, the possibility to finish it after we looked at the phases really is break them up or make them into smaller phases and finish what you can each year.
So try to get it so we're spending $1 million a year rather than
Yeah.
whatever it would be.
But it's never gonna, currently, you don't have enough money to do the whole project, is the problem. Now, the other option, which we'll talk about with the second item I want to talk about, is the American Rescue money.
That's what was hanging in my head, was where are we using that money?
There's $800,000. Right now, it could not be used for this. There is a bill in Congress to give some more, what do I call it, latitude.
The spectrum piece it couldn't be used for because it's providing, high-speed internet?
No.
Because we're not a rural area.
Right. It's not, we're not putting in broadband.
And we're not needy. I
Okay.
think everyone already has.
So there's $802,000 that we're gonna get from the American Rescue. We've already got half of it in cash. We could take that money and use it for whatever stormwater projects are already in the bucket. And then use that stormwater money to come here.
But does the stormwater fee allow us to use that money?
What?
But we're not touching the fee. There's money
Well,
just in the
that's
budget.
what I want
Yeah,
to make sure.
yeah.
No, it's not the stormwater fee.
Okay.
It would be the money that we
Because I
transfer
think that
out.
would be restricted.
We transfer out of reserves funding for the stormwater projects because the fee is not bringing, if we were covering the stormwater project, the fee would be $70 a month,
Because it's, what, 130,000 a year or something like that total?
140 something. Last year was a kind of a portion year,
Mm-hmm.
and we took in 140 something, and it's going to be a little higher this year.
So what you're saying is the money that's budgeted for the stormwater projects, city council can move it, but they can't take the stormwater fee money.
Right.
That's strictly for maintenance.
No, I know,
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
So reallocate, what's the total budget for stormwater?
Well, we've got 2 projects this year, which is on here. That's the reason I go to this, so we have the project from last year that's gonna roll over, and the reason that happened is the engineer that was doing the design work got ill, so we had to go out and get another engineer.
Oh, that's right, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're looking at 15E.
We're looking at, 15E and 15G.
Okay.
Those are the 2 projects for this year, which amount to about 700,000. But that's an option we could reallocate. The city council could reallocate that funds and put it in here, and then we'd still be a couple $100,000 short over the long term.
Well, it seems to me that we should move forward with trying to get as much done as we can with the money that we have. Just because we've already done so much of are these estimates
No, their actual cost.
They are,
They're-
Are they binding?
Yeah,
They're
five.
binding estimates, or binding
Right.
okay, so they cost, so we know exactly what it's gonna cost us. And you said on the
If-
west side,
if we-
everything is done?
Or it will be. The only thing that's left to be done is Spectrum.
Well, yeah. But all the power is done.
Yes.
Is done. So we're talking about starting at First
Right,
to
And-
Causeway Boulevard.
Right.
That's south of Causeway.
yeah.
And then phase 2 of that would be Causeway to
There's-
Harrison.
And, you know, I kind of wanted to get some feedback there from you guys to say, hey, maybe I need to go back to Duke and split that, ask them to split it. So then we can actually do a project almost every year.
And
Yeah,
for
that's-
the next 4 years, yep.
Do it in thirds.
Yeah, do it in thirds.
Because you're almost spending, this is 3 million, and the next project would be almost 2 million.
Right.
So, and then you end up only with a couple 100,000, so, yeah, I mean, it seems like if we did 300,000,
So we get 930 annually for the next 4 years, is what you're saying, starting this fiscal year.
Yeah.
And we have nothing in reserves, nothing left over from the
The other
previous
pay?
project.
No, what happened was, there was like, I think it was like $7,000 that was left. We had no way to, none of this. So anything that fell out of that, it fell off the system. So, but we used everything we could with trying to finish the Spectrum stuff on the west side. 'Cause
And
we had-
Bel Air Shores is definitely in on the project with us, they're gonna share.
No, I
let us
went
share
to their
comment.
meeting and
Okay.
I had a meeting with the mayor privately and then I went to their meeting. There's no issue with that.
Do we have that in writing?
Well, it's.
I mean,
in
their
the-
word is one thing, but, in this
It's in the
thing,
interlocal agreement that
Right.
says
I'm just saying, with everything else that's going on, Lynn,
I don't think that's, and the mayor said if we want something in writing, he'll give it to me, but we didn't have anything in writing previously.
Okay.
It's an interlocal agreement
Uh-huh.
that's signed by all the beach cities.
okay,
And there's a stipulation in there that the money for Bel Air Shore can be utilized by Bel Air Beach. So,
Okay.
For Golf Boulevard, for Golf Boulevard.
yeah, yeah, and this project, the only thing you can use it for is underground.
okay.
So I'm not that concerned about it, but, if the council wants me to get a letter from them, I'm sure I can do that.
I'm right now,
And is there any chance Big C's going back to the well to see if there's another, I gotta think everybody's coming up short?
Well, what most of the cities are doing is they're just going as far as they got. And what I expect them to do is do what they did this time. If they're short, they're gonna, in the 4 years is over, they're gonna say, hey, I need, 20 million. But they aren't gonna go, the county's not gonna give us any additional other than the 35 million they already allocated.
So it sounds like we're probably better off breaking it up into another phase, and then that way, in the event 3 years from now they decide to do Petty 5, then otherwise we don't
Yeah.
have to write a check for any of the
Right.
unknown.
well, I think the same thing, you look at these numbers and it's just like was just said, one of these is at $1 million, the next one is almost 2, and you're making the argument that maybe we're better off to break this into 3 phases so that we have enough money each fiscal year to do things. We're not robbing Peter to pay Paul, so I'll go on a limb. I'll make a motion that
We go back to
we
Duke
go,
and ask.
we go to 3
That's the only
phases.
person that I have to go back to. Utility consultants, all I gotta do is tell him. he's wonderful to work with,
Is that still
Mark.
Mark?
Yeah, no, he's doing, the Reddingtons. They put it out, we just jump off that contract, and, he's doing the Reddingtons.
All right, so we've got a motion to, for Lynn to go back to Duke, request if we can bring it into 3 phases. And spread the dollars and the expenses over those 3 phases.
Is there a demarcation point down here where you'd like to say, okay, now it'll be from the causeway going north to?
Well, if you look
whatever.
at Spectrums, Spectrum has got basically 12th through 22nd and 22nd through Harrison, so we probably
Yeah, it
want
seems
to,
like 22nd would be about the halfway mark.
yeah,
Okay.
we probably want to use the same situation if we're gonna, you know. And then what are your thoughts about asking the council to use the American Rescue money to do the stormwater projects? And
Well, wait a minute now, whoa.
well,
We have a motion that has not been seconded, and our recommendations have to go to council.
you're right.
So, is anybody gonna second the motion to go to 3 phases and vice 2?
Yes, I would second that. But
Okay.
I think you said Duke, and I would propose that all 3 contractors get,
Oh, yeah, we
yeah, you
agree.
would do it, okay. All right.
Okay. All right, so I made a motion to do undergrounding in 3 phases, vice 2, seconded by Jody. All right, I know we do this best backwards, but it's fine.
All right, so.
We do the discussion and then we do the motions, when it should be the other way around.
Well, once we're done discussing.
So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Any opposed?
5-0. No, 6-0. We have 1 excused. I keep forgetting.
It's still fine.
It's still 5-0.
Still 5-0.
Oh, okay.
Because he didn't vote.
So then to follow up on,
Your next question.
the funding shortfall, do we recommend, you're asking us, would we recommend moving the buckets around? Take the 800,000 from the rescue
Yeah.
plan and use that for the budgeted stormwater repairs.
That's gonna be a
Take the budgeted stormwater repairs and move
tough
it.
explanation.
Yeah, no, I think,
Discussion.
I know all the people that get up and complain about their stormwater issues.
And they're gonna think that we're taking the money away from the project.
Well, you gotta understand, they're not taking, you aren't taking the money away.
You're actually putting more into it
You're
up
putting-
front.
We've already been paid
I
for.
think it needs to be presented that
Yeah.
you're using the American
Rescue for the stormwater
money for
project.
stormwater.
Right.
Agree on that, yes. Okay, now we've got this money in the budget for
Yeah.
stormwater that we won't need to use. Can we allocate it to another?
Yeah, because
project?
the
So-
thought was move the stormwater projects up further down the line. That was an option also.
Yeah.
Because as an example, if we had the 800,000, and that's why I gave you the sheet, if you look at 22, 23, 23, 24, you're at like 700,000 and you're a shortfall of about, you've still got about 150, 160,000 left, give or take, that you could start on 24's, 25's project. So, if you did that, then the stormwater projects would actually move up in years because you've got the money. Now, if you wanted to reallocate the 423 and the 336, let's say we'll just round it and say it's 800,000, then we'd have to ask the council to rebudget that money to the undergrounding project and use this money for those two projects. And that's probably, there's many things you can use this for, but if you use it for infrastructure and stuff, it's not an accounting nightmare. If you go out and try to give money, like, I'll give you an example, Pinellas County gave every employee in Pinellas County $750 for getting vaccinated. Okay, they used some of this American Rescue money. Hillsborough County gave $500, Pasco gave $500, and some of them gave $500 plus 2 days vacation. But those are big places, and a lot of them are hiring consultants to take care of this money because of how you have to report it. Where if we kind of stay the line of using it for infrastructure, then the reporting for it is much simpler. I mean, it gets into payroll and the taxes and,
Does the current infrastructure bill that was signed yesterday, is there anything coming to local governments?
we don't really know that yet. It hasn't been really washed out. They talk, but, what was it? Because I've read a little bit about it, and there's been some webinars about it, and they talk like, well, you're gonna get this for this and get that for that, but where's it gonna come from, and what are you gonna let us do with it, and how do we apply for it? That there's gonna be, where this American Rescue money,
It's in the bank, right?
I got $401,000 in the bank already. They ACH'd the amount. We had to sign the agreement in August, and September they gave me the first half. They'll give me the second half sometime in August or September of this year, or 22. That's what the plan is. And you have till fiscal year 20, till the end of 24 to commit it. And then to finish paying the bills, you technically have till 26, but most people are saying you better pay the bills by 24 and get it over with.
Right.
Because it's, you're just dragging it out. And if you spent the money, why wouldn't you just try to close yours out? Because you've got how many cities in the United States? A
Okay,
lot.
so let me ask you this, even if we had tried to fast track some of this stormwater with that money, there's only so many man hours, right? There's only so much that you can't have every street in the city torn up.
No.
You can't, so you can't really fast track it. There, you can't take on these projects faster than we have them scheduled for anyway, can you?
Well, you could, you just gotta get the consultant to do the engineering work for you, and how fast they
Is he
can
gonna
do
do
it.
that and be able to manage it?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you'd have to, just fit them in sections, And that's how they're broke out if you look at them. They're broke out, going north pretty much. And then next year, we're coming back to 9th Street over here and 19th and 20th. So, pretty much after 9th Street's done, the south end of the city's finished. It's been done. We're on 12th and 13th, and that project would have been done if we wouldn't have had the issue with the engineer health issue, because it would have been already out to bid. They'd be working on it.
Linda, follow this right. I had to take a picture of it and blow it up so I can see the numbers. So are you talking about 21 and 22, using the 21-22 number, which was 336?
Yeah,
And then add the 2 for 22-23?
No, I'm talking, well, you could do that too, or
21,
we could use the 2021 money that's rolled over into it, because we didn't get the project started, it's rolled over into this year's budget.
How much is that one?
For
23,
200.
200. It's in the gray area. Do you see
Yeah,
that?
it's out to the right.
It's 12th and 13th Street.
Yeah, That's the one that's currently in design. And we've asked for a proposal to do the design on, is it 17th and 18th? Yeah, 17th and 18th.
So you put that out to bid, or you have an engineer hired to do it now?
For what?
For those, the design of those two?
The 12th and 13th, we have the engineer. I've asked for a proposal from the engineering firm for 17th and 18th also. But the 12th and 13th, because Larry got sick, we moved it to another engineer, and we
I
weren't.
guess I didn't know Larry got sick. I didn't know all that, so.
Yeah, he was in the hospital for like a month, and he's not able to do anything. He can't even drive a lawnmower right now. So I talk to him like once a month. So
So who have we hired now?
Dual. Yeah, I talked to Dual, and I talked to Cardinal. And Cardinal's got such big overhead, the pricing is
Ridiculous. Yeah.
ridiculous. And Dual's doing our site plan stuff now too.
Oh, they are? Okay,
Yeah.
I was told we weren't doing that anymore. Okay, good.
Yeah, I think they charged me $125 an hour. You know, Larry had flat fees. So far, we've managed to squeak by with that.
What we charge, yeah.
Yeah.
So Lynn, if I look on this schedule and I see in fiscal year 25, 414,900 for 14th and 16th Street, but it doesn't get retyped in the total column. Is that just a typo, or
Yeah, it's.
it should be in the total column?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good. And all this money is in the budget, right?
Well, you make a 6-year capital budget.
Right.
So that's what these numbers are at. But that's the proposed future budget for things, go through the whole thing. I mean, there's painting the building, HVAC, all of this stuff. So what's in the actual budget for this year is $336,000 plus the $423,200 that is rolled over from last year.
Got it.
Because you can roll, we already budgeted for that project, and you can roll it into the next fiscal year if you haven't completed it. We would have already started that one if what happened hadn't happened.
Okay.
So if we're 977 short on the undergrounding, we still got to figure out how to cover that shortfall.
Yeah, it's still a couple $100,000 short.
Right.
But, you know, you have to, I guess, you have to look at it. For a couple $100,000, we improve the appearance of Gulf Boulevard. Is that?
Well, fine, but do we need to propose when to budget that? Is that a, you know, we know that it's going to be,
It's going to have to be in the out years.
175,000 added to the budget.
in one of the out years.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not in a actual fiscal budget yet. It's just a proposed budget.
Can I ask kind of a stupid question? But Elder Shores is benefiting as well. We've used all of our money up to this point, you know, hitting
And their
that
money.
side.
Yeah.
Hitting that side of the street. Well, their money, as I can see here, is a little different than ours. How much are they willing to put into getting the rest of this stuff?
I don't know if they're willing to do that, but
I mean, they've got to be getting some of the same money that we're getting from, you know.
from who?
ARP.
the federal government.
They're getting $50,000.
Well, I mean, are they?
I haven't asked that question.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just seems logical. We're in it together. You know what I
Right.
mean? I know we have a lot more homes than they have, but I'm just,
If you do the pro rata, what are we get 3/4, they get a quarter?
right.
Roughly.
So if we're 200 short, we fund 150 and they fund 50.
Well, I mean, we could ask that question, but I don't know where that'll go.
Well, I think that we can make that part of our recommendation
We ask them.
that we ask Bella.
Yeah, they got, I think it was 50 from the ARA.
They're gonna
And I'd have to go back to see the
give it to all their
portion.
employees, they got a shot.
Huh?
Give it to all their employees, they got a shot.
Well, the other
They're one
thing,
employee.
well, the other thing I would have to probably look at is what did that site cost based on what they contributed last time?
Well, that would be an interesting thing. We probably should come up with
And
some.
I guess then
options.
there's the question, would the Rescue Act allow them to fund the project?
Well, right now, no. The Rescue Act does not talk about underground. And that's what I mentioned earlier, there is a,
Because they're not benefiting from any of the ground stormwater?
no. No.
But do they have stormwater? I mean,
No.
are they getting any funding for anything that?
No, they don't have any stormwater.
I certainly see some catch basins in front of the parks and stuff. Who's
But
that?
that's all
County.
Pinellas County. Yeah. Yeah, they don't have any outfalls or anything.
Those flood damage.
Yeah. Yeah, it just goes into the county drainage system, because it's all Gulf Boulevard.
I mean, it's worth looking at what we've done and,
See
what
what
the
it costs.
allocation has been, right? And then
Yeah.
just kind of look at going forward, okay, we've got, a similar allocation. Is there something, are they willing to contribute something? We contributed everything we had over there and we're trying to get the job done.
Well, like I said, what I probably would need to do is go back and pull the invoices to see what that site cost us.
Yeah,
Yeah, because from 19th south,
is that,
we should have contributed $1.
Huh?
From 19th south,
Right.
We should have
Whatever
contributed
that,
$1.
whatever that portion cost us is, did you contribute that amount of money? I don't know that factually. I'd have to pull the invoices and,
yeah, I'd love to see the history on it, because based on this, I mean,
yeah.
covering 2/3 or 3/4 of it, we're covering 1/4 of it, we've got,
Yeah, like I said,
I know I'm hitting you with a lot.
Huh?
I know I'm hitting you with a lot, but I think it's worth
No, I
for
just
us
need
as
to
a
go
group to
back,
kind of get that information.
and find out what they contributed last time. And if, what we did on that side,
Right.
if
I
they're.
would keep it
con-
to the east side, and
Right.
what did we, I'm sorry, the west
West
side.
side.
And what did, what was how much was collected from Penny for Pinellas?
Right.
How much was spent, how much was ours, how much was theirs?
Right.
That sort of thing.
Didn't you say it's linear feet?
Yeah.
Am I wrong, but about 3/4 of the work done on the east side would have benefited Gulf Shores, not City of Bel Air Beach?
About half.
Only half?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
trying to think about going
It's
on.
one
Okay,
point-
okay.
It's 1
But it's not
1.9 miles.
1/4. It's not
No.
1/4. It's
No.
definitely more than that, yeah.
No, it's 1.9 miles.
but they don't have anything on the east side. They're all
No, I
on
get
the
it.
west
I
side.
get that, yeah.
But it would be interesting to see what
What
their
it cost.
contribution was and how,
Yeah,
how does that
we
shake
were
out
getting,
again?
from the last one, and this is just a recollection, like 525,000 a year from the last penny.
We're still haggling over
Or is
what
that combined?
No,
About
and then they were.
the money for them and
I don't know,
Whatever.
us.
whatever.
I'm not sure where we're,
All right, so when we look at the American Rescue Plan Act funding, you've got the 806,000 and change, right?
802.
They do too.
82868, is that what it was? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have the $802,868, and we're recommending that we reallocate the budgeted dollars for the rollover in this next year for stormwater to be moved to the general budget to cover, not general budget, but to
Capital
the
budget.
capital budget for continuation of the undergrounding of the utilities, and then use the Rescue Act money for the planned stormwater
Right.
CapEx. And then it'll add, Jody makes a good point, it adds another $45,000.
I recommend budgeted stormwater money
Yeah. rollover in fiscal year 21-22.
For FY 21-22.
Plus the rollover budget.
Can you identify that dollar amount?
Yeah, it's 802.
I don't mean the dollar amount.
Be used
but
for
it's 2 years.
undergrounding.
It gets complicated when there's a rollover.
Be allocated
Be
to the capital budget.
So, be 759. Give or take a penny.
That's what I have.
He's the accountant.
What?
You should know that.
No,
For-
that was a former life, Lynn.
You used to have the
Finalizers
paper roll.
undergrounding.
Oh, it's former life.
Why is it we have?
This is
For
questions.
for completing.
I got
Completing.
offline.
Oh, okay, somebody else answered,
Underground utilities.
about the same issue.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I just tried to give you whatever data stuff I
Yeah.
could find. And I gave you the complete grant award and all that, so you read, if you're, you want to have
When
some
you're up in the
fun
middle of the
reading.
night.
Well,
Got nothing else to do.
Fun reading, go ahead and read it.
Ran out of space. I give it.
And then
It'll give you a headache.
taking the proceeds of the American Rescue Plan Act funding.
Then use
So where is this
American
money,
Rescue Plan.
doing the undergrounding?
That's-
The boring?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's boring.
All right.
Yeah, that's,
Huge
up to
cost
802.
and borings
this is the boring right here.
and, okay.
Was it 802, 86?
868, yeah.
For stormwater, right?
Yeah. To apply to the stormwater. Stormwater projects, or budgeted projects, stormwater budgeted projects.
So they're gonna be using 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 6,
Yeah,
nothing small.
big pot.
Big.
So then,
Okay.
Big cable.
then you're gonna also need to use, I guess, since it's about 750
760, yeah.
is the,
See, he did use his.
I
account.
did, I'm sorry. So it's like 42,000, right, Ron?
so then we're also gonna have to allow it to fund, because it can only be used for stormwater. So it's also gonna need to then fund part of the
A future project.
22,
Yeah.
23.
Yeah,
With the
Remaining
remaining balance to fund future stormwater projects.
Perfect.
and that, like I said, that could change because there is a bill that has been proposed in Congress to give more latitude to this. But
All right, with
It's a-
remaining balance
it's a wash.
to
Would
fund
remain, that's pertinent to the pennies?
future
no, it's pertinent to the.
American Rescue.
American Rescue, oh, okay.
stormwater.
So if they open up additional, like if infrastructure included, underground and utilities, then we could skip this step and just.
Build back better, doesn't that mean underground?
It's not.
Just saying.
Right.
If you read what it can be used for, it's unbelievable.
All right, so we need a motion to take the recommended, here, I'll read it. To take the recommended budget stormwater money for fiscal year 21-22 plus the rollover budget to be allocated to capital budget for completing undergrounding of boulevard utilities, then use the American Rescue Plan funding of 802-868 to apply to the stormwater budgeted projects with the remaining balance to fund future stormwater projects.
So moved.
I second.
Jody and Martin. All right, so that takes care.
No, you didn't go for a vote.
Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Oh, I too.
So we got 5-0. So then we have down on the agenda to general business, which we were appointed a project last night in the workshop.
Yeah, and I gave you, that was a handout.
Is it this? Oh, there's a lot of reading here. You
Just
gonna
to
boil
give-
it down?
Just to give you a little background. Because of the,
The sign is beautiful out there, by the way.
because of the digital sign and a couple people's controversy, there's this fear that every condo and hotel is gonna put a digital sign in, and they wanna regulate it. And our sign ordinance doesn't really regulate digital signs. You know, John, so you're probably gonna put one in, so we need to regulate it.
They can see what they can see.
Well, those are already there.
I was gonna say, I don't know what other, they
Yeah,
can,
but they're already on the existing signs.
and they're not digitally.
So how can we
So-
logistically put a stop to that before we even get started?
Well, so what you've got in this packet, you've got the Bel Air one, the portion of their ordinance, and you have Tampa's ordinance, which is very detailed. And what they're asking, and really tonight, I think what we should do is take it and read it, and then we'll try to schedule another meeting to discuss it. Because it's, what they're trying to do is just put some parameters around the condos and the
Couple hotels.
couple hotels. To, you know, if they want a digital sign, then this is the parameter, and it can be on from this time to this time, or it has, you know, that type of thing.
And the current code doesn't address much.
No, our current code,
Got 5
So they've been wanting to
pieces.
redo the sign ordinance. It's been multiple discussions, multiple wasted hours in city council. And so they were thinking they were having this in the workshop last night to come out with what the digital sign ordinance was. So did they approve a sign ordinance
yeah, it's got its second reading next month.
with an exception to having to do an amendment for a digital
Right.
sign?
Right. The sign ordinance has been back and forth for
Months.
a year. I mean, that long. It's been. We think we got the product fine, and then it's got 10 more things wrong with it. So, and to be honest with you, it's not bulletproof either, you know, not me. But it's 27 pages, so it's a big sign.
Oh,
And it doesn't cover anything in here?
It excludes illuminated.
It
digital signs.
doesn't talk about it, because it's more, our sign ordinance was more for residential. Like, you know, we had the stipulation that you could put a political sign out, I think it was 45 days before the election, and we had some
They don't want Steve's Trump banner hanging up?
yeah, they don't want that, they don't want.
The guy on both floors.
I mean, John's got a cul-de-sac, and
I told Lynn about
he
this.
can't put a sign in there that can be seen, because he's got landscaping in it. But,
I literally measured from the backside of the curb, rain gutter, 8 foot, and it'll be up under my palm trees. You'll never see it. The only place I could do it is on the grassy areas.
is that the proposed sign ordinance, or?
No, that's the existing one, I think, or the
well,
one
that's
that's
the first reading.
the first reading, yeah.
The
Yeah.
second reading.
Of the
is-
new one?
Of the new one, yeah.
That's where I
So
would
you
put the
can't put
signs.
a real estate sign out?
Yeah, but it's, can only be this size, it can't be,
So no political signs? Can
no,
be
no,
different
you
here.
can put a political sign out, but what they ended up doing, the sign, as an example, whatever kind of sign it is, it can't be bigger than 4 square feet, okay? So, because there was talk to say, okay, well, we could have a 15 square foot sign, a 3 by 5 political sign, and they went back and forth and they agreed to 4 feet. 4
2
square
by
feet.
2.
2 by 2.
1 by 4.
It could be 1 by 4, 2 by 2, 18 by whatever. And most of those political signs are 18 by 24. So they're not even 2 by 2, you know?
Is there a limit how many you put in your front yard?
No.
That's what they should be worried about.
And how long can they stay?
They can stay till 30 days after the election.
45 before.
No, 45 before. As an example, you can put a sign in your yard today, and I'm going to use our elections in March.
Mhm.
You can put a sign in your yard today if somebody gave you a sign to put out. But you have to pick it up 30 days after the election. It has to be picked up or you can be fined.
Oh, but you can put it in.
You can go in today?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, once this ordinance is passed,
Yeah.
What's the 45 that they took that out?
they took that out.
Oh,
And it's gonna be passed in December.
It should be. Hopefully, we don't have any more changes.
So
If it
they,
does, then you're starting over again.
they started getting into the discussion last night in the workshop about the digital sign, and, you know, there's some people that still don't like the digital sign, so they don't even want to address it. But then the mayor said this has to be passed under the current city council. So that means they're looking for direction from us that they need to read in, first reading in January council meeting, and then final approval in February. So we've got 6 weeks to figure out how to give them direction. But, you know, my question to you, and I thought about it driving back to Tampa today, is there, who would write this? Isn't there gotta be some?
Fred will write it. What they just want, I guess, from the committee is some direction in your thoughts.
Mhm.
And if you want us to get some more research on it, I'll be glad to get that on what other cities, if other cities even have it. I mean, if you look at Bel Air's, it's pretty, really nothing.
Yeah.
It's like,
And Tampa's is gonna be more, because, you know, you got the billboards that change and flash,
And
and
it's commercial.
you got,
Right.
you know, Dale Mabry and all.
Yeah, there was-
establishments there.
I mean, there was a lot of discussion, you know, with this sign, you know. We don't want flashing signs because it'll give you a seizure. We had a person get up and say that. So the question is, you know, my question, when they said that, I didn't say it at the time, but at some point I'll say it. So that means we can't have flashing crosswalks, flashing
Stoplights.
Police
stoplights, or
cars can't
flashing.
use, the police cars can't use their, you know, lights
Well,
when they come.
that's what was said.
Lots of seizures going on.
I mean, I think you were at that meeting when they said that about the eyes.
There too much time on these things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, you know, I think, you know, it was just a reason to try to prevent a sign that was already sitting there.
Mhm.
You know, that's all it was. You know, we started with the birds, then we.
So what's the general feel that
Where do
we
we
don't
find that
wanna
ordinance?
allow digital signs? I mean, what was the?
Only
feel
City
from the-
Hall.
Only City Hall, I mean, is that what the feel from the work
No,
session was, or?
No, because City Hall has one, they feel like we have to have an ordinance for
Gulf Boulevard.
Gulf Boulevard.
Beller Beach
Yeah.
Hotel. And
As a practical matter, the only people that would even think about putting up a digital sign would be the 3 hotels, if you
The
will.
non-hotels,
Yeah.
by the way.
Non-
Yeah, this is my
non-hotel.
whole thing, they're not
Non-
hotels, is what I'm told,
Yeah.
they're not, they are condominiums.
Condominiums.
No.
that allow daily.
The beach club, the nautical watch.
Yeah.
And Nautical
And-
Watch is a timeshare.
Oh. Well, even though the owners of those places that do more renting than anything else,
Mhm.
I don't see them spending the money for a digital sign.
But they will.
They won't. But
But they
it's
could.
better to be, I guess,
Yeah.
this council
Proactive.
saying
Yeah.
proactive and get something in writing that, in case that happens.
Yeah, because if they wanted a digital sign,
Yeah,
They could have had it already.
yeah.
So one of the council members talked, he was getting into the type of ambient gradient lighting that it has to be, and then the speed at which the message can change, because at 35 miles an hour, the visual should be 15 seconds before it changes and scrolls, and so I don't think we need to, I mean, we can't spell out every purpose and use.
I think they're getting to
But
the point of trying to micromanage this thing too daggum much. And, you know,
Well, what I'll do,
But-
I've given you what the attorney provided them last night,
Okay.
and I'll pull up a couple other smaller cities' ordinances and see if they have anything with digital signs, and I'll email them to you.
Yeah, I don't think Tampa's gonna apply. I think we need to find.
Well, that's what Fred gave me.
Yeah.
I mean, even Bel Air Bluffs, I mean,
They don't have,
they don't have a sign ordinance?
not to that, no. I'll look and see if they have anything about
Or
digital
maybe
signs.
even Largo. I mean, at least, you know.
Largo has digital signs, but
But they're not that many,
But
right?
in Largo Park, right?
actually, most of them, they're in the park.
you know,
All right, so for under general business, we'll note in the minutes that city manager presented the sign ordinance project. We had discussion around it, and we'll need,
Digital sign.
we'll review what was handed out and get back together here
And there's
the
no
week after
way
Thanksgiving.
to include this in the sign ordinance
yeah.
that they're already working on?
Huh?
If they have to start back over.
Why didn't we include this in the sign ordinance that, all you have to do is change one word, add digital in front of the ordinance. Standard and digital.
We'll have to have a,
It's a
Sidebar.
separate
On that?
conversation.
Okay.
to explain that whole
Okay,
thing.
okay.
Actually, you know, anybody that has participated in that could explain it.
But we're gonna end up with two ordinances.
No, it'll be an amendment to the ordinance.
Oh.
they want to get this on the books before the election.
Right.
Not the digital one, they want the.
The sign ordinance they
Yes.
want.
You want the-
No, he said he wants this done too.
I understand that, but not
Oh.
before the election. He wants it, they want it done before this council changes, which would mean they'll discuss it in
yeah.
a work session in January, and then they'll put it on the February, first reading, second reading in March. But the sign ordinance that's existing, they want to,
So that way we would be done by
yeah,
the March election.
right, but by that time, this is really nothing that would pertain to the election.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's just,
yeah,
just an optic.
yeah.
So, well, John's right. Any other business, anything else going on in the?
No. I gave you this. This is just, you know, some information.
Yeah,
Kind of
just
gives
good
you all the
information.
capital projects for this city in this year and out year. We've updated it. I got that one error. I'll have to fix that. Didn't roll over.
I don't
Probably
want,
'cause I'm not.
I don't want to prolong the meeting, but does anybody have any comments about the 2-lane turn here off of Gulf Boulevard?
I think it's gonna
Has it
cause some
been dis-
accidents, is all I can tell you.
Yeah, I almost got sideswiped.
I will say
Because I
that,
was in
no,
the right lane.
Yeah.
And,
I don't ever get in there.
And a car
So we,
came
at
over
the
the
very
line.
minimum, we need a couple of those vertical markers marking that, the angle, or the curve, that the left-hand lane should stay.
adhere to, correct. They tend to wander over.
Oh, all the time, so if we had those on,
So,
in there, that would
Is
anybody
that
else have
Pin-
any comment?
no, is that
Motion to-
Pinellas County,
Motion
though?
to adjourn?
I so move.
Second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.